Test 1, 2.
Test 1, 2, check.
Good evening. The regular meeting of the Kansas City Public Schools Board of Directors, May 23rd, 2018, is now called to order. Will the secretary please call the roll?
Ms. Manser,
Here.
Ms. Wolfsey,
Here.
Ms. Lewis,
Here.
Mr. Oates,
Present.
Mr. Fierro,
Here.
Mr. Evans, Mrs. Morris, Dr. Hartsfeld, Ms. Robinson.
Here. Is there any objection to approving excusing the absence of board members Evans and board members Hartsfeld? Seeing no objection, their absence is excused. Is there any objection to the approval of the agenda? If not, the agenda is approved. We have 5 individuals who have indicated that he or she wishes to address the board this evening. Public comments are limited to 3 minutes per speaker. The chair now recognizes Jose Aragon with SEIU. Welcome.
Okay, he did not want to speak.
The chair now recognizes Susan Stocking with DACX. Welcome.
Thank you. Good evening, Dr. Bedell, Chairperson Robinson, distinguished members of the board. I'm here tonight to give you an update on the District Advisory Committee and our officer elections. In our last general meeting of the year, we elected a full executive board. So we have gone from 4 members to 7 members, which I'm very excited about. We have representatives, parents and community members from signature schools, from neighborhood schools, with kids in grade school, junior high school, and high school. I think we have a really great group of people, and I'm excited about the work that we're going to do this year. Our members are Eric Areola in the position of member at large, Roland Hemmings for parliamentarian, Steve Burton, recording secretary, Lisa Gooden, corresponding secretary, Nell Powell, treasurer, DeMonte Rochester as vice chair, and I will be serving as the chairperson this year. The DACX is going to be meeting each month on the first Wednesday of the month, so if there are agenda items or issues that you would like us to explore and to present to in DAC general meetings, please let us know. This summer, we are not slowing down. We are going to be meeting and having a retreat and reviewing our bylaws and setting our agenda for the year. Our DAC general meetings, we will have 4 of those this year, or this next school year. That will be the 3rd Wednesday of September, November, January, and April. And finally tonight, I just would like to recognize and thank our outgoing chairperson, Miriam King. Miriam is the mother of 4 kids, 2 sets of twins, and her youngest twins graduated from Southeast last week. So I just, so grateful. I'm so grateful for the leadership that she provided. She is always one who holds the school district accountable while urging the school district forward, and was an amazing perspective, and hope to build on that legacy this year. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Jacqueline Esperanza to discuss accountability for faculty and staff. Welcome. And you have 3 minutes.
Hello, thank you. And my concern comes, hello everybody. My concern comes with the,
Tell me if it's good.
my concern comes with the question, is there accountability policy in place for the teachers and staff? And where is the public accountability policy that is in place when staff violates the public policies? The community has a right to know what happens to staff and teachers when they violate intimidate, harass, belittle, bully, and chastise our children for informing their parents on what is happening at the school. It is breaking the law, and these policies are a violation due to zero tolerance. Everyone knows that there are consequences, and as a parent and a grandparent, I just want to know what are the consequences and see it publicly when it's happening in a public place.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The chair recognizes Tom Love to discuss education laws. Welcome, you have 3 minutes.
Good evening. I'd like to welcome Local 1 over here. When I was in college at Kansas State Teachers College, I got an opportunity to work in a state employees union and cleaning the education building. And it was a really good experience. Tonight I'd like to ask a question. How do you get 80% of the students doing reading and math on grade level? And you know, I noticed Channel 9 on this weekend talked about the literacy problem in Kansas City. It's 125,000 people cannot complete 4th grade reading. 125,000 people. In almost 30 years, this district has been unaccredited. We currently have a third of the students who are potentially going to join that group of people. That's 15,000 students here. That's another 5,000. And we have millions of federal dollars dedicated to provide reading teachers in K through 2nd, Title I certified reading specialists. By the way, the college that I went to at Emporia has one of the top 4 reading programs in the United States. And they're right across the street called State Line. The students are right here in Kansas City. How many have we asked to join KCPS to transform the 1/5 of students who have some level of dyslexia? You know, half of the inmates in Texas prisons, 49% to be exact, have dyslexia. At what point are we going to hire qualified people with the federal dollars to address that issue? Are we not going to let all the all the elementary schools have some reading help in K through 2nd, and we're just going to do Tier 1 and Tier 2? Are we going to take people that are AmeriCorps students who got out of college, have a degree in whatever, take a summer school class, and then only work on the 2nd-tier students? You know, there's the ones on grade level, then there's this third group middle group that's 1 to 2 years behind. That's who they help. And they've totally ignored the 39% of the 3rd grade students last year who are 2 years or more behind already. There's something wrong about this, and there are laws in the state of Missouri to address this. We're not complying with the state and federal laws in Title I. We're also, which addresses this K through 2nd grade literacy issue. It's blatantly obvious that the need is great and the money is there. $9.4 million last year. Only 4 reading specialists hired. Can you all believe that? Only 4.
Thank you, Mr. Love.
25 elementary schools.
Thank you, Mr. Love. For the presentation of the evening's revenue and expenditure report, the chair recognizes Board Treasurer Matthew Oates.
Hello? There we go. Thank you, Madam Chair. So we have our budget and our revenue and expenditure report ending the month of April. So we'll go ahead and jump right into it. So page 1 here is our revenue. A few things to look at here. Our local revenue, we're trending ahead of this time last year by about $6 million. And that's due to an assessed valuation increase we experienced this year, and also the final distribution of the universal TIF. on our state revenue, we're also trending ahead of last year. And that's due to an increase into our transportation funding and our state foundation formula for pre-K and then K through 12. Our federal revenue is still behind budget from last year, primarily due to the timing of reimbursements from our federal program funds. And then if you look here at our last line, our total revenue, we're about equal to where we are at this point, but since we're behind in federal dollars, that we're a little bit behind last year, but we should catch up as we close out the end of this year. Looking at the next slide. So our administration budget is trending under budget, partially due to a reduction in legal expenses this year. Instruction is trending under budget, and that's due to a reduction in FTEs as part of the early retirement initiative that we had last spring. Our support services is at budget, but it's a little bit higher than last year, mostly due to the increased curriculum program needs and devices for the student technology. Our plant services is at budget, but also higher than last year, and that's due to the cost of bringing the custodial program in-house for improved service reasons. And then our pupil transportation is trending behind budget last year, and that's due largely to efficiencies that were created throughout this year compared to last year. So our total expenditures is pretty much about equal to this time last year. And it's trending below budget at this point. So our revenue over expenditures at this point is about $42.6 million. So again, the slide where our money comes from. And then take note that, again, as we've discussed before, most of our income comes from local sources. And then looking on our next slide are where the money goes. Again, between direct classroom and other instruction, most of our money is being spent in classroom. So our chart for the year, looking at our fiscal year 2017-2018, again, our blue line, which represents the revenues, are trending higher than our red line, which is what we want. Excuse me. That gap between the two represents that $42 million, $42.6 million. And so now, I guess part 3 in our thrilling installment of budget prep is going to be on how fixed costs are, impact budgets for this year and even future years to come. So from here, I'll let Ms. Quinley take it over.
Thank you, Mr. Oates. Good evening, board and guests. We did want to talk with you through a few of the big lines that have to get worked out in the budget first and start sharing some numbers as we're really down to the point where we're ready to load, as the ladies in the budget office say to me every day, can we load, can we load? So there are 5 components in my mind to the whole operating budget, and the fixed costs, I put those at the top, although they are not the most important. I put them there because, unfortunately, they're our burden before we get to do anything else. Salaries and salary adjustments, benefits for employees, and then additions or reductions to the operating budget, and then considerations of one-time things that we might bring to you. So as Mr. Oates said, we want to talk a little bit about those fixed costs. There are 3 primary lines of fixed costs. Our property, casualty, and liability insurances that we have to renew, and as you know from your own insurances, those tend to come with annual increases. Utilities that we don't get to set the rates on, and so we have to plan for those. And then transportation contracts that also tend to have an annual escalator inside of them. So we'll look first at the property and liability insurances, and you have a couple of years' history here so that you can see by the various types of products that we buy what we spent in 2015-16 and then in 16-17, and what it looks like we will spend this year, and our proposed amounts for next year. Then at the very bottom, under those years, you can see what might have caused some of those changes. I see this as a really positive slide because while we have increased premium costs over time, it's fairly insignificant when you look at the total, even though we've put dollars on the books behind the COPS monies that have been invested into our facilities, thus increasing the insured value of our properties over the last few years. So I think that when you look at the net of this, we should feel pretty good about it. And we have had great conversation with our carriers and our broker about what has been a really good year for us behind insurance. And so we're really comfortable with a 3.41% increase in this, which is below industry trend right now. And then the next large fixed cost is student transportation. As you know, we have 3 primary contracts in that department. One being the bus provider for student, the second being the administration and routing work that is done by Transpar, and then our crossing guard contract. Again, you have 15-16 and 16-17 history. And you see our large jump was in 16-17, and just a note at the bottom, 2 things happened in that year. That's the year that we shortened the walk distance, thus increased fairly significantly the number of riders and buses that we had in the system. And then that was the last time that the bus contract was rebid, and unfortunately it wasn't the most competitive process as we only had one bidder. The 17-18 year that we're finishing now, you see how we're projecting to come in less than last year, about 8.65% less. And that's because the 2 companies, Transpar and First Student, have been working with us throughout the year to really find as many efficiencies as we can inside the actual number of buses we have on the road. So we've started to refine the system that was put into place in 16-17, if you will. Next year, we are assuming the contract required increase in the First Student contract and the Transpar contract. We did just rebid crossing guard services. You've approved that contract for next year. It unfortunately is coming in quite a bit higher than this year, and that was related to the fact that in order to employ and retain staff, they needed to be able to pay their employees at a higher rate, and so that, of course, passes through to us. Collectively, we're looking at a 4% overall increase in the cost of transportation. Then utilities. This again is something that I think is a slide to be a little excited about. You see our historical trend at 8.2 million, then 8.3 million, and then back to 8.2 is what we're projecting this year. We are projecting a net decrease after rate increases next year, largely because of the number of properties that you've accepted a sale on this year or have pending at this point in time. And so we do have utility costs behind closed buildings, so the more of those we're able to get off of our books, of course, the more efficient it is inside that utility budget. So when you look collectively at those 3 lines and another line that I consider fixed cost, that last line, Board of Education increase, will be increasing the Board of Education budget in order to cover both the cost that we will have to pay to the county for the actual election and then any services that you are obligated to provide as a part of the process next year. We're estimating that to be about $180,000. So between all of those lines, because we are expecting a decrease in utilities, we only need an increase of a little over $324,000 to meet those needs. You could expect in a normal year that this would be somewhere more around $800,000, $900,000. So then the next big area is salary. We are budgeting for an average increase of 3.15% and allowing for steps on salary schedules as well as adjustment to those salary schedules to get to that average 3.15%. We know that in recent years, we have not necessarily given steps, but rather have given flat increases across the board. And what that does is it creates a large cluster of people in step 1. And so your new people who come in are making the same as the people who came in last year and so on and so forth. So what we want to do is sort of fix those schedules, which Ms. Collier and I have been working with AFT on and worked with SEIU on in the fall so that we can allow steps. We are also using some projected savings from retiree retirements to get to that net cost of 315 inside teachers. We expect right now the teachers increase, as we have tentatively agreed to with AFT, will increase those salaries by $1.8 million, and then the retirement and benefit costs at $400,000 for a net 2.2 for teachers. Overall in the system, $3.5 million for employees behind salaries. Then medical, dental, and life, and employee assistance program. Just this year per employee, we're spending roughly $8,957 is the base allowed. That will go up in next year's budget to $9,470 or $513 per employee. It is our intent to absorb the increase on those base plans so that our employees don't 2 years in a row have that increase experience. Overall, we expect this to cost us just over $1 million of increase in next year's budget. And this slide is probably the most significant and perhaps most important of the costs that we're sharing with you tonight. The retirement system, upon final approval of Senate Bill 892 for next year, will change the contribution rate for the employer, for all employees in the KCPS-RS plan. Currently, the employer pays 9% and the employee matches that 9% on eligible dollars. Under the new legislation, because the plan did, under actuarial study, need some additional cash flows, the employer will see an increase in the rate, but the employee will not. So we'll go to this first time where we pay two different rates. The employee rate will remain at 9%, the employer will move up to 10.5%, and then they've changed the language from where it originally started to an 18-month time period, yet to be determined. It could be 12, it could end up being 13%. So in that bottom chart, what you see there is what we will spend this year, $9.6 million for the board's cost for employee retirement. Next year, we're projecting that at 11.1, which is a $1.5 million increase, partly due to the raises, largely due to the rate increase. And then in 1920, we projected at 13.2 million, and I've left a number off of there because that is $3 million, not $300,000. And then in 2021 at over 15 million, so that collectively over those years, and that's not 3 million either, it's 2 point something. I don't know where I got that number. But collectively over the 3 years and the implementation of these new rates, it creates an annual increase of over $5 million to support these needs in the retirement system. Any questions?
Mr. Fierro?
So, Ms. Quinley, tonight is just a continuation of educating us about the entire budget process, correct?
Correct.
I think it was the last presentation that you had made that you had shared with us the timing of the payout of federal and state funds that come to the district.
Mm-hmm.
And I think there was one particular slide that showed that in December, we kind of reach a point where we're overdue of waiting for our money. So I think the slide, what it presented to me was, for probably the first 3 or 4 months of our academic year, we're advancing dollars, waiting to get our reimbursement. Is that correct?
Our local revenues,
Got
right?
it.
Waiting for our local revenues.
And so my question is, what source of funds are we using to advance those expenses?
That would be our reserve balances that we start the year with. And so that's why that conversation was specifically around us starting to think about adequate starting reserve balances so that we have the right amount in the bank, but not necessarily too much in the bank as we go forward. And so good reserve balances July 1st are what allow us to pay the bills and take care of business until January when those local revenues show up.
Correct. And I think the presentation clearly showed that at any one time we're maybe 4 to 5 months holding on to money. So it's not an
Right.
issue of we're advancing dollars and we're waiting years to get reimbursed.
Right.
So with that, have we ever explored utilizing a line of credit as opposed to utilizing our own dollars?
To my knowledge, we have not. Tax anticipation notes are something that Missouri school districts can use. We can borrow against the fact that all banks know in January, and we're going to get those large local influxes. So that is a tool that is eligible to use. It's not something that this district has needed to use, to my knowledge, because of the fact that we've had adequate reserves to get there.
Sure. And my final comment, Madam Chair, would be I would like to see what would be the pros and cons of us utilizing that. You know, if one theory would be, well, we just hold on to our money, it earns interest, and so that's certainly a potential benefit. And then I also could see, well, if we're going to take a line of credit, there's an expense, and utilizing that, I'd love to see kind of what is the net result of that, and is it beneficial to utilize someone else's dollars, knowing that we're only talking about 4 or 5 months at a time doing that. So thank
Certainly,
you.
we can do that.
Anything further? All right. We would like to thank our board treasurer, Matthew Oates, and our CFO for your presentation tonight. Do any of our ad hoc committees wish to report this evening? Mr. Fiera?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just wanted to provide an update on the redistricting process. I see a few individuals in the audience that have been a part of the process. We had a very successful first redistricting hearing yesterday at Pacell Academy. We will have one more coming forward on Monday, June the 4th at Metro Tech. Thank you, at 6:30. Manual, sorry, I remember it as Metro Tech. So we will invite all of you. We invite all of you to come. If you weren't able to join us last night at Pacell Academy, you had a presentation from the Kansas City Election Board on the process, as stated yesterday, and as we've here. Due to some state legislation, there is a redistricting process that is required. Locally, since our municipality is over 300,000 in population, the Kansas City Election Board serves as the redistricting committee. So they are obligated to carry out the state law to go through a redistricting process. And for our timeline purposes, we need a final map by August of this year to be ready for election in April 2019. So just wanted to remind individuals that we're in the midst of that process. I would encourage you to learn more about the process by visiting the Kansas City Election Board website, which is www.kceb.org. They have on their website a full explanation of the process, their responsibility, as well as the 3 maps that they are currently reviewing. Thank you.
And thank you for your leadership, Mr. Fierro. Board Member Wolfsey?
Thank you, Chairwoman Robinson. I just want to quickly remind you on behalf of the Communications Community Engagement Committee that our next board meeting will actually be on the road with the Board of Directors. So there were flyers out front. We'll be at Banneker on June 13th. And just remember that exec session starts at 4:30. There'll be a reception at 5:30. And we'll actually have, similar to last year, popsicles and ice cream sandwiches. So I know you'll all want to show up for that. And then the board workshop will begin at 6:30.
Thank you for your leadership, Board Member Wolfsey. The next item of business is the report of the superintendent. The chair recognizes our superintendent, Dr. Padell.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We have 3 items under the superintendent's report. Our first will be our video highlight, centering on our commencements, and then we will introduce to you our middle college students. This is our first graduating class of our middle college, and it's probably one of the biggest things that I think I've done in my tenure here by working with the FEC in Penn Valley to give these kids an opportunity to matriculate. And I'm so excited that they're here tonight, and we want to get that conferral through the board tonight. And then we will have a Paseo student recognition. We have 2 young men here that's done some phenomenal work. So let's get right into the video highlight, and then we'll flow right through.
Yeah, that's exactly what KCPS likes. It was a good time for students, parents, and staff members during the 2018 graduation season. Over a 4-day period inside the Sweeney Center at UMKC, over 6 high schools graduated more than 775 students, including 128 from Northeast High School, 212 from East High School, 82 from Central, 108 from Southeast, 143 from Lincoln, and 102 from Paseo. KCPS also saw 138 students from Manual Career and Technical Center receive their certificate of completion. During this beautiful week of celebration, the ceremonies were elegant, emotional, entertaining, and of course, inspirational.
We live in the America of the future, one where we the people really means everyone, one where no one is discriminated against on the basis of race, religion, sexual orientation, gender identity, or nationality, one where everybody has the opportunity to achieve the American dream. I don't know about you, but I choose the future.
And the future, with these KCPS graduates leading the way, is something that we all are going to like.
So, yes, it was a wonderful experience for us, and we're not done. We have 5 of our graduates here of our new program that we started this year. It's a middle college program, and I want to bring up to the podium Chrissy. You don't want to come up, Pam? Annette, you don't want to come up? I think let's bring you all up real quick, because I want to acknowledge these 3 ladies. I want to acknowledge Pam, I want to acknowledge Chrissy, and I want to acknowledge Annette, who's our instructor over there. They took an idea and they turned it into something that has produced wonderful products that you have sitting over here to your right. And what I want to be able to do at this point is pass the podium, pass it over to you. I know that you all want to call our students, and we actually have a parent here that I also wanted to speak in addition to one of our students. And then what we want to do then is kind of go through after we call the names, we want to go through the conferral. I'll do the conferral first. When you tell me when you want me to do that now?
After the parents speak.
Okay, after the parents speak, and then we'll have a student speak. And then students, we would like for you all to come up and hopefully shake the hands of each of our board members who are here today to recognize you. So I'll pass it over to you all.
Good evening. Thank you for letting us be here. We are really excited about this program. It's really been one that we've all been really proud to work with and excited for the future of these students. So tonight we have one of our students, Lupe, is going to come forward and read her speech, and then we have Mrs. Robinson, one of our parents, who's also going to read a speech to you. So start with Lupe.
Hi, good afternoon. Good evening, everybody. My name is Guadalupe Vega. Thank you for joining us in this special celebration. The graduates have closed a chapter in our life, and we're very eager to begin the next one. The middle college program is a great opportunity for students who have barriers. I had given up, and I felt like perhaps school wasn't for me. I started becoming a different person and thought a high school diploma wouldn't change my life positively. Little did I know door after door would start opening for me as soon as I enrolled in this program. I'm currently a bilingual receptionist for Trailwoods Elementary School, and pretty soon I will complete a course to receive an interpreter certificate. For that, I greatly thank Ms. Annette McDonald's and Ms. Christie's help. Ms. McDonald is extremely dedicated and has put extra effort into helping us graduate. More than anything, I'm extremely grateful for my family, who was there for me and encouraged me in some of the hardest times of my life. They knew the potential I have couldn't go to waste. Life is what you make it. Anything can happen. It can knock you down, but you have to get up, get past it, and learn from it. Nothing holds you back but you. I can't explain how thrilled and overwhelmed I am that I have finally received a high school diploma. I did what I thought was impossible. I have many great memories, but this is one of my happiest and proudest moments of my life. This is only the beginning of many more accomplishments to come. Once again, thank you for coming and showing your support.
We're actually really excited. We have 6 students who graduated with us. We have another 15 that we believe will graduate in June, and a wait list a mile long for students to get into the program. So we're really, really doing some good stuff. But through this, we discovered that not only did we have a student in the program, but we also had a parent who went through a similar program with our teacher. So I'm going to ask Ms. Robinson to come forward at this time.
And Ms. Robinson, if I can say this, I had a wonderful conversation with Ms. Wallace at Ms. Robinson at the commencement, and really she touched my heart around perseverance and grit, and the fact that she's here now. I told her you have to come and you have to speak to our board and our community. So we thank you, and go ahead. The podium is yours.
Thank you, John. Well, good evening, everybody. And thank everybody, the board, for letting me introduce myself. My name is Letitia Robinson. Marquand Robinson is my son. Just give me just a moment, because I'm a little nervous, but not nervous, but I'm just a single mother who was determined not to give up on my son, okay? I've already had a daughter graduate, and when you are young in the Kansas City area, you make those choices that are not good. But I wasn't gonna give up. So my son's senior year, I know it was a challenge for him. And I seen that he wanted it bad. So Miss Annette, again, this is her second time in my life, y'all. My first time, I just want y'all to know that in 2012, my children were getting into high school, and I did not have my education. And I felt like in the parent handbook, they can get their education before me. So I seen what she was doing with the children in the Hickman Middle School District, helping them get their GED, and I said, I need that, come here. So she showed me how to do, let me just close this, I don't need it. She showed me how to write an essay, y'all, and I did not never know how to do that. So she took my essay and shared it with those children, okay? Which in turn encouraged me to get my GED in 2013. So I stand in front of y'all today letting y'all know in 2016 I enrolled in NAU, and I'm in my sophomore year getting my degree in criminal justice. So I thank this program because it not only just changed my son was in this program for a month, you guys, 1 month. And my son told me, Mama, I needed you. I said, I got you. So 1 month, this lady, she called me, and when she left me this voicemail, y'all, I'm gonna stop. She left me this voicemail, I said, I know her, and it's you. A month later, my son is standing in front of y'all with a high school diploma and a scholarship up to $4,000. We talking about in the Kansas City area, you know? So I thank y'all. Sincerely, I thank y'all. So Y'all keep doing what y'all doing. Y'all changing lives, okay?
Well, thank you. And I do want our board. And I do want our board in this community to know that I had an opportunity to talk to the majority of the individuals who were there that night. Most of these students, when they dropped out of school, needed a credit, maybe a credit and a half, right? And had made it all the way to the finish line just to not have anything. And I think that for me, you know, what makes me emotional about this is when we talk about wanting to infiltrate the permanence of hopelessness, the permanence of poverty, and being able to just say that let's just crack it a little bit. This is what hope looks like, right? This is why we do the work that we do. This is transformational, and this isn't easy, but it's something that right now we have a waiting line of people. And I was there that night when a 23-year-old who had dropped out of Central years ago sat down with you all and said, I want to get in the program so I can at least get my GED. And when that young man gets his GED, we feed him right into a work preparatory program with a scholarship so he can get 2 years of training and go right into industry and make a decent living. This is why we do what we do. So let's get to the next part of business, which is to get the names across so we can get this conferral real quick.
Absolutely. Dr. Padel, would you join me at the podium as we confer their diplomas? On behalf of the Middle College Program, it's my honor to present to you the 2018 candidates for graduation. These students have met all district and state graduation requirements to be considered a graduate of the class of 2018. Dr. Bedell, do you accept our graduating class of 2018 from the Middle College Program?
I do. And now to our board. Upon the recommendation of the faculty of the Middle College Program, I seek the authority of the chair and the school board of the Kansas City Public Schools to confer upon each of you a high school diploma with all the rights, privileges, and responsibilities thereunto appertaining. Members of the board, do you accept this class? We do. Let's move forward with the names. Call them across so we can shake hands.
All right, here we go. Antoine Lemise Campbell. Woo! Davion Jerome Franklin. Krista Marie Lee McAllister. Marquand Darnell Robinson. Guadalupe Maite Magnaga Vega. And Dr. Bedell, when our number 6 is in the hospital, Christian Michael Hill. So let's keep him in our thoughts and prayers. Thank you.
Thank you.
Right, moving on. At this time, we wanted to conduct our Paseo student recognition. I would now recognize Board Member Patty Manser to introduce the Paseo Youth Ambassadors Program.
I'm very excited to have the chance to meet this evening, as I did a little bit earlier, and to introduce two young gentlemen. They are identical twins, Antonio Hoskins and Josie Hoskins. They are new Paseo graduates from a week ago. I got to see them walk across the stage. And we're going to recognize these two young men this evening, and I'd like for them to say a word. I want my colleagues to know how I kind of became aware of these two gentlemen. I had one of those moments you hear about all the time on the radio, which was a KCUR moment, where I was driving in my car and I was listening to a story, and I started hearing this story about these young students who are participating in the Youth Ambassadors program in Kansas City. And I was just captivated. I stopped in my work parking lot and sat there and listened to the story, but then had to go into the office. So I later went back and found the story, and I replayed the story. And when I heard this story about these students and others that participate in this youth life skills and growth and artistic development program, I was really excited. I encourage everyone here to look at the Youth Ambassadors KC.org website. It's a program that pays teenagers, so they can actually be hired. It's jobs, and they are hired, and they get courses and life skills. They do art and journal writing to capture their own personal experiences and reflection. They learn about financial literacy and all kinds of things. And this program happens in the summer, and it happens during the regular school year. Well, what was particularly amazing to me was the creative work that these two young men have been a part of, and I'm hoping they'll tell you a little bit about it. It's quite captivating. And so later tonight, when you all get home, if you don't want to roll back and listen to KCR, go to youthambassadorskc.org, and you will find it, unless...
We actually have it as the next slide, so after they come up and talk about it, we'll let them play the video.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Yes, my name is Jared Antonio Hoskins. This is Josie Hoskins. We are youth ambassadors. And real quick, I want to talk a little bit about myself and then the video. And I think Josie's going to do the same. So I'm 18 years old, which makes me a legal adult. But in every other sense, I like to still think that I'm a child. And I say that only partially as a joke. When I was young, one of the big things that happened in my life is that I didn't ever get to experience a childhood. I remember my mother's friends saying that I was old when I was 5 years old because I had to take care of my siblings. And a lot of other things that happened in my life made me very, very mature for my age. And while that seemed cool at this time, I do regret not being able to have a normal childhood. In many cases, that happens to people all across the Kansas City public area. I work 4 different jobs, all of them pertaining to the community. I got many scholarships to leave, to go to like California, Berkeley, things like that. And I decided to instead go to UMKC. I'm a youth ambassador. I work at the Nelson Atkins Museum of Art. And I did over 300% of the required community service hours to graduate. And I say none of this to toot my own horn, just a little bit. Most of it is to let you guys know that I love my community, right? I would do anything. I go out every single Saturday. Every single day I'm doing something else for the community. And the most powerful thing that I've ever done has always been for children. I'm a nursery coordinator at a church. And my favorite thing that I've ever done with children is this video and a book that we did last year. So it's becoming an annual thing that we work with VML for these videos and things like that. And I'm going to let you see the video after Josie gives her spiel. And I just want you guys to think, if you wouldn't want to show this to your child, if you wouldn't want your child to see something like this, why do we let kids live it?
I hate it when he goes first. I'm Josie Hoskins. I'm a graduate of Paseo Academy. I'm 18, I think. I just judge by whatever he says. I'm kidding. I'll keep this brief. Something that Miss Monsieur said a word that stuck with me, that of course sticks with me as a creative writing major, well, a former creative writing major at Paseo Academy, was story. Story means a lot to me as a human. It's an integral part of the human condition. It's what allows us to learn, really. We don't learn from things quite like we learn from stories. And I believe that my highest calling, something that I've done more in my life than anything else, is attempt to tell a story, attempt to teach a lesson through story, because that's how humans have best evolved to learn. And tonight, the story that you're going to see, the story in this video presented, is nonfiction. It's a true story. All these things happen, and they're not special stories. They weren't special because they were my story, because my story has been told hundreds of times before. This might be the first time you've been exposed to this story, though. Something that I want to leave you with is, when you're watching these videos, and when you watch this video and you feel uncomfortable, that's good. That's important. That feeling of discomfort, that's what I strive for in my work as a poet and my work in the community, because that discomfort means that you recognize that there's something wrong here. So taking that knowledge, recognizing that there's something wrong here, that's the first step to doing something about it. And that's all I've got to say. I hope you enjoy the videos. I hope they make you think, and I hope when you think, you do.
Okay. I forgot, right before we get into the video, thank you for all the applause, but there's somebody else who deserves applause. Her first year here at Paseo has been phenomenal. I love her. I'm talking about our principal, okay, Dr. Deborah Powell. She has changed our lives. Thank you. All right.
Another lesson from my neighborhood. Do you know how to tell if mom is overdosing on drugs? If your mom shoots dope every day like mine, you can only help her if you know the signs of an overdose.
An overdose?
Yes, an overdose. Don't call the ambulance if you're in doubt, unless she shakes uncontrollably or foams at the mouth. That's an overdose.
Okay, that's an overdose.
That's an overdose.
You could find her on the floor or find her in bed, and if you know what to do, she won't end up dead of an overdose.
Really?
Yes, an overdose.
Well, I don't know.
The signs of danger are simple to see. If she's twitching and seizing and can barely breathe, that's an overdose.
Yeah.
That's an overdose. That's an overdose. Mom always knows best.
So that piece, very, very powerful. And I looked around the room, and I do this every time when somebody sees that. And I saw some of you starting to like do the little thing, like you were like singing a line, and then you were like, oh no, this is messed up. I probably shouldn't be smiling, but that's the point, right? You want to smile, and then you realize it'd be wrong for you to. So like I said, how can we show this to people if we let our kids live it, right? And that's our first step, right? And this is what we're all here for. You all care about our children. That's like the public schools. This is for our children. So just keep doing the work that you're doing. There's no one solution. There's so many things that we need to do to not only fix our school district, but fix our community at large. So thank you for all of your work, and please continue. Go look at youth ambassadors if you can donate money. That's not what we always ask for. Time, just getting the word out there. Anything helps, anything. Thank you.
Consider you all scholar superstars, and we're really proud of the work you're doing. You're involved in the public
Okay, for our policy and governance portion of our meeting, item 3.01, the chair recognizes Dr. Bedell to present this proposal.
Thank you, Madam Chair. At this time, I'll have our legal counsel come up, Ivan Nugent, who will present this item to the board, the adoption and updating of policies to Board Policy Appendix D.
Good evening, Board of Directors and community. The packet that you have regarding the policies that are updated come to you via recommendations from the Missouri School Boards Association. They have updated a few policies, and in order for us to stay in alignment with those, we're asking that you vote to approve these updates.
It will now be in order to have a motion to approve this proposal.
So moved.
Second. It is moved and seconded to adopt the proposed board policy changes to EHB, IL, IKF, JH, DF, KL, and KLA. Is there any debate on the motion? Hearing no further debate, the secretary will call the roll. Those in favor will respond yes. Those opposed will respond no.
Ms. Manser?
Yes.
Ms. Wolfsey?
Yes.
Ms. Lewis?
Yes.
Mr. Oates?
Yes.
Mr. Fierro? Mr. Evans? Mrs. Morris? Dr. Hartsfeld? Ms. Robinson?
Yes, there is a majority in favor and the policy changes are approved. For our regular business items, item number 4.01, the chair recognizes Dr. Bedell to present this proposal.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The administration is asking the board to simply take action on the U.S. Foods contract in the amount of $4,883,444. This is a renewal of our food services contract, annual renewal that we're asking the board to take action on.
Okay. Is there a motion to approve this proposal?
So moved.
Second.
It is moved and seconded to approve the contract with U.S. Foods in the amount of $4,883,444. Is there any debate on the motion? Hearing no debate, this will be a roll call vote. Those in favor will respond yes. Those opposed will respond no. The secretary will call the roll.
Ms. Manser?
Yes.
Ms. Wolfsey?
Yes.
Ms. Lewis?
Yes.
Mr. Oates?
Yes.
Mr. Fierro? Mr. Evans? Mrs. Morris? Dr. Hartsfeld? Ms. Robinson?
Yes, there is a majority in favor and the contract with U.S. Foods is approved. For item number 4.02, the chair recognizes Dr. Bedell to present the summer school proposal.
So, Madam Chair, this item does not require board action at this point, as that has already been approved. This is just to provide you all with a quick update on our summer school model this year. So we will bring Chrissy Harrison up.
Good evening. I have an update for you on our summer school model. This year, to date, we have 6,233 students enrolled in elementary, middle, high school at churches and community centers throughout the city. Our summer school program, as always, is open to all students in the Kansas City metro area. We have 12 KCPS locations, 14 upper room locations, 2 Boys and Girls Club locations, 2 7 strategic locations, and 1 Alvin Ailey location, making up that 6,000 student number. We did continue to partner with 4 of our community partners this year. We have some really exciting highlights from summer school. We have an increased focus in Project Lead the Way and STEAM initiatives. We actually are bringing on our iSpark teachers that will be a part of our regular programming next school year. So we're bringing those into the summer programming for our elementary students. One of the things that I think we're the most excited about is the expanded opportunities for high school students. So we are using a virtual platform this summer school year, which is allowing us to provide a great deal number of courses for our students for credit recovery as well as original credit. So some of our students are able to catch up or get ahead, and we're really pleased about that. We also have internship opportunities for some of our students, our high school's juniors and seniors through 7 Strategic. We are providing transportation and childcare for all of our KCPS locations. We did add language to our MOUs this year to increase the partnership for our summer partners between both the district and the partners. We are looking at ways to better monitor attendance, to increase accountability around the pre and post assessments, our student surveys, and then again with our teacher walkthroughs and administrator walkthroughs that we do of each of the partner sites, so that we ensure that while we have school happening in all of these community locations, it's the same quality that we have in our school buildings. So we're really pleased about that. I think the addition of transportation and childcare has led to an incredible increase in our student enrollment into our programs. Traditionally, we're kind of flopped as we have less buildings open and our partners have the bulk of our students. And this year, we're in a better financial state for that, and also in just a better system all the way around. So we're really pleased about the changes coming for summer school.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. It will now be in order to receive I apologize to my colleagues. Are there any questions about yes, board member?
This may be for you, but it may be for Dr. Bedell. On the partnership applications and revetting process being developed and implemented, I know we passed the guidelines for educational partnership. I didn't know if any of that was ever taken into consideration with these type of partnerships, or are we looking at like other partnerships?
We develop very specific guidelines for becoming a summer school partner, and then criteria for how you get to continue to be a partner, so that we don't just allow anyone to be a partner, but that we're looking at. And so they are all related to different things within the summer school handbook from DESE, and then as well as things that we know are best practices for our schools.
And I think what you're saying is just around the partnership, the guidelines that we utilize for partnerships. That model was not applied to our selection model for summer school providers.
Not this year.
Yeah, not this year.
Okay, but maybe. Yeah, maybe in the future. In the future.
I think that's something we can definitely take a look at. I can tell you right now, just even in my conversation that I had with Mike Reynolds and a couple of our other staff members, we do have to be more thorough around making sure that we understand what our providers are doing, and making sure that that there is a true value add. And I know that we started last year with some evaluations, but I think there's a lot more that's open that I think we can do an even better job of, and we're going to be working with Christy and Michael to make sure that we have that. So if our guiding principle process is going to allow for us to vet and to have a much more thorough process to who we partner with, then absolutely, we do not have a problem being more efficient in that area.
Okay, there would be, I think, just from a point of clarification, it would be helpful to come back and give us an update regarding decisions around that, because I think when that proposal was adopted by the board, it was in keeping with school operators. And so when you talk about the partnerships, these are a lot of nonprofit organizations or business enterprises. So I would like more information if we're going to go down that lane. But I appreciate you bringing it up, because it was just something that I know that there was an evaluation process, but in terms of selection, I didn't know that we were going to be using the guidelines for that to do.
Yeah, and Madam Chair, I don't think I said we were going to use it. I said if it proves that it's more efficient as we sit down and talk through it, then if that's something we believe we want to go down that route, then we would. But that's not a decision that's been made.
Okay, and I guess just to come back and just let us know when you get to that juncture, so that we're aware. I know that there has been a lot of communication from the community regarding transparency with our summer school contracts, and individuals knowing that this is available to them. Is there a bidding process? Are we just selecting people based on what? And so I think that would be helpful to also get information about how we're identifying our needs for external partnerships, as well as how are we filling those, and how are we doing it fairly for organizations to be able to fill those needs. Because like with our charter it's not charter, but our collaboration guidelines, everybody knows about that. It's, you know, heavily publicized. It's on the website. But for our summer school projects and, you know, speaking of $6 million, that's a lot of money that's being let out. And I know not only for partners, but it's important to have a fair process around that.
Okay.
Yes, Ms. Manson.
Well, one of my questions was, I noticed on the list of the summer school sites that KCPS is offering, I recognize some of the names under the summer school principal, so maybe not 100% of them as what their role is, but it looks to me like many of these are vice principals in their regular academic year. Do we see this as a development tool for developing the skills of our vice principals?
Yes, absolutely. Summer school is your opportunity as an assistant principal to show your leadership ability. I can tell you, I was a summer school administrator when I was an assistant principal, and that is one of your pathways towards that.
Board Member Wilson?
So building on that, I do have a question. So you're a VP during your regular day. And how do they, because I assume the planning for summer school is now while they're VP during the regular day. So how does that just practically work as a vice principal that would then be a principal during the summer? Does that question make sense?
Yeah, so we provide some sessions and some times for our summer school planning teams to come together and work on things. There are some things that they're having to do, such as hiring staff or things like that, that kind of overlap. But kind of as Dr. Bedell said, it gives them that experience and that ability to start to learn those processes to move forward. But that's in my role, that's kind of how I help support them and help ensure that they're able to get all of those tasks accomplished. And then their building principals also work with them to help support that process.
Follow-up question, please. So is this just a part of their, I can't remember, are they 12-month employees?
They
or
are.
do they get
It is
paid?
a part of their contracted
So
duties.
they're just doing this in addition to their regular. There's no extra compensation for being.
No, they're 12-month employees.
If I'm a VP that doesn't take a principalship, I'm asking the question, like, I still get paid though, right?
Yes, they're 12-month employees, so they're paid 12 months. They don't get additional money for being a summer school principal.
Okay, so the designation, the difference is I'm a VP this time, and then I'm a principal during the summer, not doing my VP duties over at the, because I'm not, I guess what I'm asking is, are we asking them to do two jobs but only paying them for one?
We ask every administrator to serve in some capacity in the summer school program. So with all of our church and community center sites, we have to assign administrators to those sites too, so that we have oversight and ensure that we're meeting all of the DESE standards through that. So regular school year principals are doing that as well.
Well, thank you so much.
Thank you.
And thank you so much, Dr. Bedell, for the information. It would now be in order to receive a motion to approve the items on the consent agenda.
Move to approve the items on the consent agenda, item number 5.01 through item 5.10.
Second.
It is moved and seconded to approve the items on the consent agenda. This will be a roll call vote. Those in favor respond yes. Those opposed will respond no. Will the secretary please call the roll?
Ms. Manser?
Yes.
Ms. Wolfsey?
Yes.
Ms. Lewis?
Yes.
Mr. Oates?
Yes.
Mr. Fierro? Mr. Evans? Mrs. Morris? Dr. Hartsfeld? Ms. Robinson?
Yes. If there's no other business to come before the body, the meeting is adjourned. Thank you.